Joe Leigh here for SecondsOut. Sahni joins me today. Fight week of a big rematch on BT Sport, of course. Nathan Heaney, Jack Flatley too. Should be a good card, but good to see you first of all. How are you?
Good to see you. Good to see you. And you're rising. I've seen you. You're doing more and more stuff like sort of like press conferences and little face-offs and stuff like that. Well done. How are you finding that?
I like it. It's I try and make it intense as possible. I'm sure you're all in the know of how to make things intense. I see you yesterday trying to stir some beef. So we're both pot stirrers in that sense.
Yeah. No, it's good to see. It's good to see because I've seen you when you first come on the scene. Yeah. So your rise is nice. Well done.
Appreciate it. There's a lot to talk about. We're obviously going to bring up the Fury Usyk situation because it's the big news. Everyone's talking about it. But this fight on Saturday, tomorrow night, is actually an entertaining one. Nathan brings a crowd, but there is a bit of spice. I feel like they won't admit it though.
There is a bit of spice, isn't there? You at the press conference, they were quite contained, respectful. I don't think they're the sort of guys that will ever, especially Jack Flatley, who's the quiet storm. He's never going to be like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to nut you at the weigh-in or anything like that. That's not going to happen with these guys. But you saw at the face-off there, that was intense, that was real. And I think Nathan Heaney knows this is a proper test he's got in front of him. I think he knew that in the first fight as well. Jack Flatley felt like he was coming on in the first fight, and that when it ended at a bad time for him after a few rounds. Let's see if he was coming on, if the quiet storm was indeed brewing.
It would be wrong to ask for your prediction.
It would. No, look, I don't think Jack Flatley signed with Queensbury, so look, I think Nathan Heaney was winning the first fight, and he's got all of his mad fans there. They'll all be singing Delilah. They'll be closer to the ring this time than what they were at the Manchester Arena, and with all of that, it could well see him through.
Yeah, Moses Atama on the card as well. Obviously, a lot's been made of him. Sparring's been talked about without names in particular. He's a big star, and I know you're well aware of what he's capable of. Everyone is after the first fight as well.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't really get to see much in the first fight. It was 23 seconds, including the count, and part of his time in the ring included him shouting at his opponent to get up so that he could knock him out properly. He's a future star. His star is rising now. My advice to everyone is, if you see him around, get a photo with him now, because he's, 5 years' time, he'll be a world heavyweight champion, and you'll be able to show your mates, have you seen this photo I've got with the world heavyweight champion, Moses Atama? He's going all the way, and there's a real coldness to him. He just looks like the sort of bloke that you could grab a baseball bat, right, hit him over the head with it, and he'll just look at you. You won't be able to hurt him. There's that about it, and he'll just absolutely batter you as well. I remember guys like that at school, terrifying. You just can't. I'm not fighting them, but there's people like that around where you just don't want to mess with them. He looks like someone you just don't want to mess with, and he's going to get better and better. It's all about pacing his career, and he's in the right place for that. He's got Frank as his promoter. Francis is going to be a brilliant manager for him, and I'm looking forward to the rise. And he's fighting in Telford this weekend. If you're in Telford, come and watch him. It's going to be something very special. Yeah,
there's obviously a lot of BT Sport or Queensbury heavyweights as well. Joe Joyce, Tyson Fury, Daniel Dubois as well, which are all in the mix at the top. Do you think he could be mixing with them in, would you say there's like a 3-year kind of warm-up period, if you like?
Well, look, when he turned pro, he said he wanted to become the youngest ever world heavyweight champion. I'm not sure how achievable that will be, but you don't want to say to him, no, you won't be. But he will be kept active, and he wants to fight 8 times a year. This will be fight number 2 this year. We're in March. If we can get him 8 fights this year, 8 fights next year, suddenly he's 16-0. And I think Anthony Joshua was around 16-0 when he challenged for a world title. So, I don't know. It just depends how it goes. I think you've got to take it. You can't just say right now, all right, when he's 16-0, he's going to challenge for a world title. What if he's been dropped on the way and he's not looking that great kind of thing. So you've got to manage the career. You've got to see how it goes. But from what I've heard, from the gyms, from what I've seen so far, he looks like he could go all the way and be mixing with these guys sooner rather than later.
Yeah, obviously for his sake, he hopes that the belts will be fragmented because it's hard to make a heavyweight title fight at the moment, it seems, with Fury. But in your eyes, what happened to Fury Usyk? How did this not end up?
For me, ultimately, fighters don't duck each other. Things fall apart over money normally. We're we're not a normal sport, right? In a normal sport, it's Real Madrid, Barcelona. They're going to play each other Saturday, packed out stadium. Everyone knows what money they're making. You know, that's a sport. This is a business, and especially in a case where the fight isn't ordered by anyone, where there's no sanctioning board saying, right, Fury, you've got to fight Usyk. Right, Usyk, you've got to fight Fury, and you've got to get it done yourself. It's not easy. It's not easy, and. You know, I think there was a moment in time where it looked like it was done. From my end, I was working away behind the scenes. That the team were getting to work on stuff, but it's fallen apart, and it's a shame. It's very disappointing. Hopefully, it can happen at some point in the future. I don't know about all the belts being on the line because Daniel Dubois is ready to go. Daniel Dubois is Usyk's mandatory, and if Usyk wants to keep hold of his belt, he needs to see Daniel Dubois.
Is that possible then? We've had interviews from Frank and Daniel on the channel from yesterday's meal, and Daniel seems to be up for it. He's always been up for the big challenges.
Of course he is. Absolutely. There is not a world where... I've seen people saying Daniel Dubois should step aside because he's not ready. Like, are you mad? Are you sure?
With his last fight, there's people obviously would suspect that he might not be ready because of that.
So even if he got knocked down 10 times in his last fight, and still got up and won, right? He's the WBA mandatory. He's 25 years old. He's taken on someone 10 years older than him, who is smaller than him. Fight that he'll be a huge underdog in. There's no doubt about that. But he has got a puncher's chance at the very least to win 3 of the 4 heavyweight titles. Why would you not take that? He'll probably I'd imagine he'd make more money than ever. It's not every day you get a shot at 3 belts right in front of you. Frank has got him into that brilliant position with the WBA. You don't turn down unified world title shots. I don't care how many times you've been knocked down in your last fight. And people talk about that. Yeah, he got knocked down. He went down on a knee. How did that fight end? He got up and he got his guy out of there. I think when he got knocked down, the times that he did, he had to ask himself some questions. He probably had to ask himself the same sort of questions he asked himself against Joe Joyce. This time, he found the answer and he got up and he got the guy out of there. So what people may look at it as a negative, maybe there's a positive in there, and maybe he can learn from that. Kevin Lerina's no Oleksandr Usyk, but Kevin Lerina is a smaller guy, is a southpaw, is faster. So there's no way Daniel Dubois can't learn from that heading into an Usyk fight.
Is that going to be easy to make though?
As far as I'm aware, I mean, he's the mandatory. So that's where what I was talking about nobody ordering Fury versus Usyk. Someone's ordering this. April 1st, the WBA was the deadline for Fury Usyk to be made. And they said, if you don't get it done by then, we are going to order the mandatory, which is Daniel Dubois. So at that point, they either get a deal done or it goes to purse split. But Daniel Dubois next.
We hope this isn't all talk. We really want to see that fight.
This is one where, look, the only way it doesn't happen is if Usyk vacates his belt. That's it. If
Can he fight Wilder instead?
No, not without like Daniel Dubois' blessing or Frank's blessing. But Daniel Dubois has done a round of media yesterday saying, I'm ready to fight Usyk. I'm going to knock Oleksandr Usyk out. Now is my time. So fair play. Go and do it. Look, people are talking about it's too early, he's not ready, blah, blah, blah. What about the Joe Joyce fight? I know he lost from that, but people are talking about, what about the learning fights? Did he not learn against Joe Joyce? Was he not doing all right on the cards in that fight as well? He's 25, he's fighting an older guy and a smaller guy. You've got to take this shot.
Sahni, appreciate your time. Good to speak to you again.